What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Opening Edge. I am your host, the one, the only, the magnificent Roz. There's no radio or podcasting without yours truly, but I'm not alone here. Please allow me to obviously introduce the rest of the show to you. The Stooges from Chicago. We got Witz and Rube looking perky and bright and shiny because Rube has a new lamp he's using to show us half of his face. He looks great. Thank you so much for contributing.
Yeah, as we continue in our podcasting career, start to come up with some new tips and tricks. Although the hat's here to stay, so that's not being changed.
Hats are here
not
to stay.
Optional.
With a potential sponsor on the way. We're wearing it today. We could be a few episodes away from having our first sponsored deal. We're going to start off. We're not.
Hey, don't forget where you came from. Thanksgiving 10 years ago. You used to be a co-host. Let's not forget.
Co-host. Actually, wasn't even like branded a co-host. I think I was a guest. But look who's turned. This is, hey, for the little people out there, this is what you can get if you work really goddamn hard. You can get a podcast on a network called Purple Banter that maybe our show, I don't know the numbers we're doing. LJ, Katya, thank you so much for letting us have a show. I don't know. Our numbers probably aren't anywhere there.
Zach Keeshan's listening. Shout out Zach Keeshan.
Hey, shout out Zach Keeshan. He, hope he's doing well out there. Wherever he is.
We got at least one.
We have one. Anyways, what I was saying is we're a humble show, as little as I showed in the intro and what we were just talking about. We're a humble show, and if we have freezing cold takes, we're going to admit to it, right? Because we're trying to lead you guys to the promised land. We're trying to lead you to a place where you can make money off of our picks. It's basically an investment listening to The Opening Edge, okay? So we'll start, and because these guys got on me before the show even started, I will take onus as well. And I think the big one is we always, at least during this portion of the sports calendar, we'll be doing mostly golf betting. And we led you astray. And I will take the onus that I really believed in that UCLA Bruin, Patrick Cantlay. But just like every other time, the guy lays down and does absolutely nothing. That's why he hasn't won in 2 years or won any significant golf tournament in his career. But it's okay. You live and you learn. And the real mistake I had was taking my shot at Rory McIlroy, who won by 5. Again, if you have seen Talladega Nights before, he clearly is Ricky Bobby to whatever John C. Reilly is playing, because Xander Schauffele basically said, hey, use my clubs, use my balls, walk all over me, and take number 1 and shove it right down Ethan's throat. And so Rory is your champion of the Wells Fargo the week before the PGA Championship. We're gonna get into the PGA Championship to end this thing, but I was wrong, and I was wrong about Rory. And I know Rube, you think
you went against one. There's 100 guys in the field, and you trashed the guy who won it.
I did. It was a bad look.
The only guy that you had a problem with was the guy who ended up winning. And you can cry about Xander Schauffele being runner-up, but Rory did shoot 8 under on Sunday and absolutely steamrolled. He had the best round in the field, so I wouldn't exactly call what Xander Schauffele did laying down. Rory, he had an unbelievable Sunday.
Yeah,
I think two things can be true at once here. I think Rory did play fantastic yesterday, but I think in classic Xander Schauffele fashion, he really folded like a cheap suit on Sunday. I think it was just relative to how he played the rest of the day.
The lawn chair my grandfather used to sit in. He had fold it.
He had one good eagle on the front, but outside of that, he was just hitting some scared shots out there, and Rory just took it by the reins. And yes, Rory did play a fantastic round yesterday, but the same old story with Schauffele that I feel like we see a lot is he comes out hot the first 2 or 3 days, and then when it comes to crunch time, he just doesn't have it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
He doesn't, by the way. He finished second more times than not, and we've seen him. Again, we're gambling men, so everybody on this tour has taken a tickle from us. We have put money or sprinkled money on probably everybody with a PGA card. We're not kidding.
True.
But off of that, because we're going to get this is going to be a very PGA focused episode. Championship week, major week. Nothing more exciting to the Opening Edge people than major week. This might be the least exciting major of all 4 of them. Sorry, honest take. But it is
don't discriminate. Major's a major.
Nonetheless. Anyways, cold takes. I want to acknowledge Witz had a midweek come to Jesus moment, which I'm still hoping is his second cold take on this show. None of you got to see it. It was all a very feisty, heated exchange over text, over FaceTime, but he did state on last week's episode that he thought the Pacers were a team that got kind of lucky against the Milwaukee Bucks, going up against a team with a bunch of injuries. They meant nothing. He thinks Tyrese Halliburton is no better than a D-League player at this point. And maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know what? It's like Wikipedia. I get to write whatever the fuck I want to write. So I'm putting that in there. Basically, he wrote off the Pacers. The series is tied 2-2. This is an even series now. I know a lot of injuries again for the Knicks, so maybe the Pacers are just that good at hurting the other team. But you wrote them off, and it's a 2-2 series.
Okay, so there's your side of the story. Now I get to tell my side of the story.
I mean, there's also the recorded side of the story. So go ahead.
I know there's a recorded side of the story, but there was some big news after our podcast came out. One, Mitchell Robinson was not in the lineup for the Knicks.
Perennial all-star Mitchell Robinson.
So, okay, let me be clear.
First team
what
All-NBA,
I said
Mitchell
on the
Robinson.
show last week, I absolutely stand by. I think the Pacers are kind of a weak team, and like Rube said, he could probably score 15 against them. That can also be true, but at the same time, when you've got Tibbs running out a 7-man lineup, when one of those guys goes down, it puts more and more pressure on those next set of guys. And what I said over text was, I thought Mitchell Robinson was the first big domino to fall, and that's why I was switching my stance. Obviously, we recorded last week, so I couldn't take back what I said on the show. I still think both things can be true, but you saw the next game. OG Anunoby goes down. Now these guys who haven't played a single minute all postseason are being forced into the lineup, and you create this kind of vortex where Jalen Brunson kind of playing on one leg. You've got all these guys playing all these minutes. Josh Hart, 2 points, 3 rebounds in game 4. I mean, what I said over text, I think is absolutely true. You're starting to see this Knicks team break down, and as bad as I thought that the Pacers were, this Knicks team playing guys that they haven't played all postseason, I just don't think they can stand for it anymore. And Tibbs, if he doesn't make a change here, I think, like I said over text, I think they're in trouble. And running a 7-man rotation is a dangerous thing when one guy goes down. That's exactly what I said. I'll stand by it. And I don't think it was a cold take at all. There was a material change. And I switched my stance.
I might get in trouble for what I'm about to say, but I'm taking 2 different approaches here. One, while you're also wrong, because while Mitchell Robinson, OG, and a double leg healthy Jalen Brunson were still on the court, the Pacers got absolutely big city screwed on 2 of the worst end of the game calls I've ever seen in my life. That series,
and then they got every whistle in game 3.
Okay, I'm just making a point. I'm just making a point that regardless of your injury concerns, or regardless of your rotation concerns, this Pacers team was maybe 2 whistles away from coming back to Indianapolis up 2-0. Now, flip side, because I'm playing devil's advocate with myself, right? Okay, I think the Pacers again got lucky in game 3. The Knicks came out swinging down double digits. They came back, took the lead, up by 7. A guy named Neathsmith hasn't hit a shot the entire game. I might even mixed up which player wasn't making their shot.
It was actually Andrew Nebhart, but thanks for watching.
There you go. Both, by the way, probably the same player to me. Both role players that are coming off the bench on a team that I'm expecting Halliburton, Siakam, even TJ McConnell to make the final play there. Shoots a fucking 45 to 60 foot 3-point shot, first make of the fucking day to put that game away. Absolutely absurd. That's deflating to the Knicks. Again, I know the injuries will probably catch up, but taking that kind of beat when you're about to lead this series 3-0 makes it tough. I think the game 4 is a wash. I think they need to go home to New York. They need to go to that big city. They need Jay-Z and Spike Lee and all the boys to coddle them up again, back in the Garden, back in their home dome. I'm telling you, I'm not as concerned about the Knicks injuries. They got a couple days off before they play again in Madison Square Garden. I think everything's going to be fine. I don't think what you're worried about, Mitchell Robinson being hurt or the Pacers being a shit team, had anything to do with the way this series is going. And in fact, at 2-2 might be the best series we've got going, other than obviously the Timberwolves and Nuggets, which is definitely the best series.
I don't think the Knicks are dead. I think, like we said, I'm still not a believer in the Pacers. Now, I think the Knicks are very injured, and I think it is going to be tough for them. But the series right now, it's about a pick 'em either way. I think both teams are going to hold serve at home, and we're going to be back at Madison Square Garden for Game 7. And maybe the Knicks get OG back by then. I do think they're the better team in this series. Like you said, Raz, I think Game 4 is kind of a wash. Like whether the Knicks lose that game by 2 or by 32, I don't think it really matters. Might even help them, honestly, give them a little extra rest going into Game 5. I'm still not a believer in the Pacers, and I'm not going to be until if they somehow get past the Knicks and then give the Celtics a series. That's the only time I'll be a believer in them. Until then,
how many games would they have to take from the Celtics?
If they got two against the Celtics,
right. We set the line 1.5.
They're okay. They're a decent team, but
last I don't disagree either. I think them getting blown out was probably a better thing because you got to basically sit guys for the entire fourth quarter, even half of the third quarter. So it was probably better that it wasn't a close game because I think rest is the one thing that they need. But yeah, we'll see if some of these other guys can step up because we know that Brunson's a great player. He can't do it all on his own. So my opinion on the Pacers hasn't really changed. It was just more what happened with the Knicks. And, if the Pacers end up winning the series, I'm going to look back at my Mitchell Robinson text, and I don't think anybody could say I was wrong. It was the first domino to fall, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, I'm going to air your dirty
laundry. We can just never prove it, unfortunately, either way.
But you can't disprove it either.
I know.
What do you mean? This is a visual medium. I will blast Xander's text messages on whatever episode that series comes to an end. Thank you, LJ. I think his text... Again, thank you, LJ. He's going to edit the fuck into this. He is going to put your text messages. Anything goes on this show now. Our receipts will be aired out, no matter the season, sport, whatever it is. So don't be texting us stuff in that text group and don't think it's not going to show back up to prove
I think it's a ridiculous opinion that Xander had, but I just don't think, unfortunately, there's ever a way that we can prove this one way or another. So we're both going to go to the grave thinking we're right.
Is a delicate thing. That was the last thing I said.
That came after talking about Mitchell Robinson like he was Shaquille O'Neal. Yeah. So like I can't get on board. Last freezing cold take. You guys were kind of grilling me about the Denver Nuggets going down 2-0. Anthony Edwards looking like a star. All this shit. Maybe Denver's done. Denver's definitely not done. They're back. They're the best team. They're the UConn Huskies of the NBA. They're about to run through the rest of this. It doesn't matter who they get on the Mavs or the Thunder side. They'll win that in 4. Honest to God, this Denver team is awesome. And fuck heat pads, fuck $100,000 fine. Jamal Murray, thank God you're still playing on the court. You're the best pure scorer I've ever seen in the NBA, even more so than Anthony Edwards, who can talk all he wants. He can talk all he wants. But the series is tied 2-2, and it doesn't start till somebody wins at home. And I know the old saying is it doesn't start till somebody wins on the road, but in this series, it starts when somebody wins at home. Let's get back to Mile High, baby.
I'll give you straight up, even odds on both sides. I'll give you whatever number you want on if we get Celtics Nuggets in the finals. Put your money where your mouth is now.
Easy. We could do it right here on the show.
We'll figure out our number, but
11 up. At about 11 minutes into the episode, so we can always go back. What number? You mean number in terms of units we'll put on this? Let's just throw 100 bones.
Yeah,
100 bones.
Okay, we'll call it that, and we'll sign the
Wait,
papers.
Don't you think, Ethan, the Nuggets and Celtics are going to the finals?
No, but I'm saying if they get there.
I had Nuggets Bucks, but I was gonna take the Nuggets to win regardless.
I'm saying if they both get there, since you just said that they're the the UConn Huskies of the NBA, we'll just take them straight up. Celtics versus Nuggets.
Yeah, I don't need a line because they're gonna be the Nuggets are gonna be the favorites. So I don't get
perfect. Sign right here.
T-Bulls have no chance.
I'm gonna get even odds on a team that's gonna be minus 200 in the finals. We're already gonna be ahead. It's a two-part bet. We're betting on the line and then we're betting on the actual series.
Well, perfect. We're going into the series anyways. You heard it here first. I think that'll be a fun bet when we get there. Let's just wrap up NBA playoffs. We already gave our series prices and where we got them, so we're not going to go really into that. We're just going to kind of recap what's going on. Celtics, are they toying with us? I know they're on in the background right now, only up by 6, up 2-1 in the series. By the time you guys hear this, could be up 3-1 or could be tied 2-2. If they win 3-1, I think we're done in 5. But are they toying with us? Like, what the fuck was that game 2? Like, why? And that's the second series in a row we've gotten that game 2 out of them. And again, if you look at Tatum in the spotlight, a guy who I love, I think Tatum is the next generation superstar, at least for the United States, because we got to compete with Luka, Giannis, Jokic, Wembanyama, all the names I can barely pronounce. But Tatum, again, a little iffy, and I cannot stand Jaylen Brown as a number 2. That guy plays basketball with one fucking hand. That viral clip of him losing that dribble with his left hand, but I have a better left hand, and I don't have a great one to begin with. It's just, put me in, coach. I'll help Tatum. I mean, am I crazy? Are they toying with us? Ruby, you're the Celtic believer. You have changed from a Jew to a pagan Celtic, Celtic God believer. What's going on here?
I think, it's a 7-game series, so if they drop one, big deal. They'll pull this one out tonight. Maybe it'll be close. Maybe they'll pull away here, and if they get this one, I don't see them losing Game 5 at home, especially if Donovan Mitchell's still out. I'm kind of surprised the Cavs are actually hanging in there tonight without Mitchell, but no, I think
especially taking them at minus 11.5.
I think Tatum's been a little bit up and down, I would say. Obviously, Jaylen Brown has his moments too. I think they do need to get Kristaps back to be really the dominant team that they're going to be in the finals. Now, I think they're going to have no problem getting through the East without them, but I do think that having Porzingis back to play the Nuggets will be very beneficial, but I think they could play with this team and easily get through the rest of the East.
Yeah, I mean, everybody complains every year about the Celtics dropping a game like this, but it's really par for the course. I mean, they're 14-14 at home. I think the past 3 playoffs.
But that's absurd for your number 1 seed.
Right. I mean, they're 17-8 on the road.
Par for the course for them to lose eventually, though. It's not like they're showing us championship rings on this run.
They got through the Heat, though.
That's
their kryptonite.
So
without Jimmy Butler, without they're playing just as injured of teams as the Pacers are playing, in my opinion. So,
I mean, you play whoever's in front of you, and
you know what? I think that only works for when it works for your argument. They're playing Sisters of the Poor without Donovan Mitchell out there, and it's a 6-point game.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
And that's
for you, it's a 3-game series, one quarter game.
Yeah. You get your feel, you get your read, right? And I read early on, even when the Nuggets were down in the 3-game series, you just get that feeling. Anthony Edwards can't do it alone. Cat's nowhere to be found. I mean, Anthony Edwards in Game 4 was exceptional. One of the coolest games I've ever seen played by a losing player. He's unbelievable. He's probably going to be the best player in the league. He might actually be Michael Jordan's son. We don't know. But all these other series, you got it. You're right. How can I be wrong? The Mavericks, they're taking this young team to task with a broken Luka. Right? I think the Mavericks are going to close this.
I think, at this point in the season, everybody's dealing with something. I know that Luka gets talked about more because he's a star. Everybody's dealing with some sort of ailment right now.
How about that stat line for being her 29, 8, and 7? He's a star.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just going to put up numbers. They have 2 guys that are shooting the ball in Dallas. But it's 3 with PJ Washington out of absolutely nowhere. But
what do you mean? Peach. It's UNC Peach. What are you talking about? Guy was a high draft pick. Should be good.
Yeah.
Should be. He wasn't until 2 months ago.
Yeah, Daniel Gafford, big addition. And I think this is where you're starting to see the Thunder not really getting anybody else at the deadline. Chet Holmgren, I think, is great, but to only have really one guy who can play down low, I think they're kind of missing out because Daniel Gafford he's a big body, right? It's a lot to handle for Chet the entire game. And what we've seen so far is the Mavericks, they're kind of pushing around the Thunder a little bit. So we'll see how it plays out. I think the Thunder are a better team, but you have probably maybe the best 2-man combo in the league right now. That I think somebody talked to Kyrie over the last year and just said, just play ball, man. You're great. And that's exactly what he's been doing. You don't really hear much about him anymore.
He's something else. He is playing the best ball we've watched him play. And I don't know if it's because he's quiet or not, but he's something. This is what you want. This is when you're the Mavericks and you're conceptualizing bringing in Kyrie Irving, and none of the pairing has worked. I know he won with LeBron, and might be the reason that LeBron won in Cleveland, but none of the other pairings are working. This seems to be a perfect ebb and flow. Maybe it was having the 2-guard system for it. Maybe it wasn't having KD, who sucks up all the shots and doesn't want to pass it to him. I mean, Luka doesn't care. Luka will dish that rock. I mean, look at his assist line. So, again, I'm not saying the Thunder aren't a great team. They're a year too early years too early. I said it. That was the only take I had about it, was that they're young. This is their first kind of go around at it. Even with SGA, I'm just saying they'll be back, right? It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. They'll be back. But
how are we talking about they will be back? They've only played 3 games, right? I think Thunder might be in some trouble, but they do play a 7-game series, which I know that one of us on this podcast doesn't really understand.
But by the time they're listening to this episode on Wednesday, they could be down 3-1, and I'll still stand by it.
Or they're 2-2 going back to OKC,
and then I'm in some trouble. And that's why we have the open, honesty conversation. We're in a new era. We are honest with our listeners. And I will be honest. It could be a cold take. Maybe I'm opening the door for some cold takes, Keep us honest. Keep us humble. You saw how I started the show. Very aggressively in favor of me. Let's talk about the big series, right? We are Nuggets, Timberwolves. The line is now -175 for the Nuggets to win the series. I told you this is not a freezing cold take. If you listened, I was even wrong. I said if they lose game 2 and go down 2-0, they'll be like +380. They were +475, and Roz fucking jumped the wagon.
I joined you on it. Find one of the first bet that I've tailed you on, I think, in my life that's actually looking okay. So
the amount of money I've got on the Denver Nuggets, the amount of money I have on the Denver Nuggets, I'll be able to pay off Witz's finance course that he's currently taking. Just again, if you need finance advice, go to Witz. He'll help you out. It's going to cost more because of this course, which I learned. But maybe use code opening edge, and you might get like a 10% discount off of the new price.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. You see both road teams win all the games. And there really wasn't anything, I think, that I saw the first 2 games that made me think the Nuggets were going to take the next 2, especially in the fashion that they did. But, I mean, that's the great thing about sports is, unlikely things happen. And I think for the Timberwolves, I mean, Anthony Edwards is playing great. Obviously, he can't do it on his own, but a guy like Cat, really disappointed with the performance in game 4. It's just, I think he's your clear number 2 option. And the guy shows up 13 points, just never really gets into the flow of the game. It's hard to beat the best team, right? The Nuggets are the defending champs. Jamal Murray looked a lot healthier games 3 and 4. And I think it was just a better offense beat a really good defense. And you're kind of seeing Aaron Gordon as well, puts up 27 points.
My God, starts 5 for 5, 12 points. He
10 for 10.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. All I know is they're moving them around. From what I noticed in game 4 is Jokic isn't getting stuck on Gobert or Naz Reid. And to be fair, they also got them into foul trouble early as well. And that's the key, right? You got those 3 mountains down there in Minnesota. They have no mountains topography-wise at all in that state, but they do have Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, and Cat. And it just seems like the flow of the Nuggets offense has figured out what Minnesota was trying to do in terms of stifling them. So very encouraging if you bet on the Nuggets and watch those 2 games.
Anybody who voted Rudy Gobert Defensive Player of the Year should be ashamed of themselves. That's all I can say. After the last couple games, telling me that he should have won the award over Wemby, I can't see it. Absolutely can't see it. And yes, I did bet on Wemby, so I'm definitely biased, but Rudy Gobert, I think, is not played up to the level that you would expect. I think is a defensive stalwart in the paint, and I think was one of the main reasons why they lost. He didn't really do much down there. And I think that's when you got a guy like Jokic, who he's not even guarding half the time, disappointed with Cat, disappointed with Rudy. Naz Reid playing great. They need more from everybody because the Nuggets are a great team.
How can we acknowledge the slam? Jokic, who I think gets a lot of shit for maybe not being the most athletic superstar out there. Pretty ferocious dunk in game 4.
Yeah.
That was a statement play. Statement play. Basketball's getting fun. Series are lighting up. Like I said, we could be at 2-2 for all these series by the time you guys are listening to this episode. But we're going to move away from b-ball. Just a quick peek in NHL. For me, at least, it's been fun to watch, right? Like I'm starting to, I don't know any of the players still, probably won't learn any of the players, and probably won't watch any regular season games. But it is a fun sport to watch, and it's only amplified when you gamble on it. I'm going to let you know my nuts, a little bit of my stomach right now. the Canucks took game 3 over the Oilers. That's a series I thought that would be a little bit easier for Edmonton. It is not. We're going to really need them to pick it up. I was hoping the Rangers would finish it in 4. They're currently playing behind me, game 5. I took an alternate line of -1.5 for the New York Rangers, plus 210. Because, if they're up by 1 at the end, we're going to get some empty net chances to get to that 2. That was the logic I went with. So I'll either be happy by the time you're listening to this episode or disappointed and maybe a little bit more concerned, because in hockey, people do come back from 3-0 deficits. And the Hurricanes, pretty feisty from what I'm hearing. But as you're a fellow bettor with me, Rube, on the New York Rangers, how are we feeling? We're up 1-0 already.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
feeling good.
We're
up
loose.
3-1, 1-0 going into the third period.
Yeah.
I don't have much else to go off of. We're at home. And this is interesting saying we.
In the Garden, maybe.
I've been a Rangers fan for about 6 days. But it's the beauty of gambling. You can become a fan of a team that you never cared about a week ago. So, yeah, feeling good. We're at the Mecca. Maybe close this out in 5, and we'll be ready for Florida.
I really don't want to be rude. This is like a friendship podcast. There's nothing I'd rather do in the world than talk to these two stooges but I'm going to be rude. Rube and I are New York Rangers fans of you 6 days, me about 2 weeks, or whenever, right before the playoffs started. Look at the success. They were 7-0 to start in the postseason run. They did just lose, but honestly, looking pretty good to win a Stanley Cup and bring New York a championship for the first time since 2009 when the Yankees won. Now, Witz over here in this whatever corner, Mets, Giants, Yankees, maybe. I don't know who your allegiance to. The Knicks. You've been a New York guy, born and raised in Chicago for a little bit too long, especially with those Mets and Giants. Maybe it's time to leave. Maybe you've been holding them back. Have you ever thought about that? Ruben Raz has a ring to it. We come into New York, flashing lights, feeling good. You, on the other hand, sinking ships. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I feel kind of like Jimmy Fallon in Fever Pitch. It was before the Red Sox. They broke the curse. He said they never let you down, right? They're 162, 16, now 17, probably going to be 18 games for the Giants. Every Sunday they're there, right? They haven't won in a while, but they're there. The Mets, 162. They're always taking the field, right? So it's just, part of the pain, part of the life I lead. Just get attached to some of these teams that are constant string of disappointment, and that's the way it goes sometimes. But yeah, I don't know how my New York fandom started, but couldn't have latched on to a couple more disappointing teams over the past decade.
You're like a Jets fan away from just being the worst sports fan in America.
I should adopt the Jets for the way my sports fandom goes. Be a good addition.
Do you have any hockey takes? Did we get you to put any money on anybody out here? Do you give a shit?
I have no hockey takes. I tune in occasionally, but I'll ride with the Rangers for you guys. But I've got nothing on the card, nothing on the futures board.
Hey, now we ride.
You're always one click away.
One click
away from your favorite team.
One click away.
And that's honestly the motto of this show. Outside of what you'll see come football season in the Green Bay Packers, for me, this show is based on clicks. Right? We root for who we click for. I could be saying a take about Rudy Gobert, or Witz could be saying a take about Rudy Gobert that's very outlandish, but the instant we put money on that man, nobody else I'd rather have be my godfather to my first son than Rudy Gobert, right? So it's gonna, the ebbs and flow of this channel, this station. They're honest takes, they're honest opinions, and well thought out, crafted watching. There's many hours of sports watching between the three of us, and we have some guests coming up on the show that will hopefully validate us a little bit more. But let's get into it. Majors week, major key alert, PGA Championship. Jordan Spieth has the opportunity to complete the career slam. Only 6 other players have ever done it before. I only say that because I don't think any of us are going to talk about Jordan Spieth this entire segment, so we can push him to the side. Rory, obviously the big talk coming in. Scotty, a new dad. Shout out, congrats on the sex, Scotty. 4-1. How low can it go, basically? I mean, I don't know which one of us is the best at doing the limbo here, but how low can we go in terms of Scotty's stats? 4-1 is pretty ridiculous for a major championship. I don't think Dustin in his prime. Yeah.
Well, I don't know why you keep going back to Dustin Johnson with these comparisons. Like,
That's
This is
the
like
best.
not.
Dustin
this
Johnson
is-
was the best run. He won what? He won like 8 tournaments in one calendar year.
Scotty Scheffler is miles ahead of where Dustin Johnson was at that point.
I'm just.
I'm
comparing
this is
it to
peak.
this is
This is a
Tiger.
peak Tiger.
Go
run. This
fucking
is
with
not
Tiger.
Dustin Johnson. This is not John Rahm.
Yeah, but you know what Tiger wasn't
plus
doing?
450. Plus 450 on Scotty Scheffler is not a crazy number. Like I think it's totally warranted. I don't know. He's won everything. He's won everything. He's by far the best player in the field. No one's gotten.
You underestimate the powers
in the last 6 weeks.
I think you underestimate the powers of having a child, and this being his first tournament back since having the child.
I mean, people said, "Oh, he just won the Masters. He's probably going to have an off week." What does he do? Goes to a completely different golf course, has a bad round to start,
He's
and then
hot.
blitzes the field.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't bet on that tournament. Stayed away. Scotty was rolling. Scotty could play. If Scotty played consecutively all the way through, he'd still probably be rolling. I'm not taking the new dad, right? I think come Saturday, he's going to be thinking about the kid. Had been keeping him up for 2 weeks straight. Doesn't have the same sleep schedule. Scotty's going to be a different Scotty come this tournament. Doesn't mean he can't get back on track for the rest of the year. Maybe the U.S. Open, maybe the British. For some reason, I just don't see Scotty winning the British. I have no idea why. It just seems weird, Scotty in London or Ireland, whatever. But I don't know. 4-1 is not. I know no one in this group here is taking a golfer 4-1 or Rory at plus 750.
Definitely not Rory.
I can never take a guy at 4-1, but like I agree with Rube. I think it's definitely warranted. When you look at this past stretch, this is kind of like a peak Tiger feeling. He was coming into majors and tournaments at plus 250, like 2-1, and he was that much better than everybody else. And I think that's what Scotty showed us really over the past. It's been a couple years, but really over the past 3-4 months. I think there's a lot of good challengers out there. But yeah, I think 4-1's a pretty fair price. I just can't, with this many guys in the field, it just doesn't sit right with me, even if it is the right play. So will I be disappointed again on Sunday night because I had no shares of Scotty? Possibly, probably, but I'm still not going to do it. So my decision has already been made.
I'm curious to see where you guys land. I, on the other hand, have a lot of picks I want to run through. Feel free to hop on. We can break it down by doing FRLs. I'm going to be doing top 10s, which I know Rube thinks is sacrilegious, but my top 10s are the same price as Scotty winning the entire tournament. So I'm hoping I have a better chance doing that.
Bet on a bunch of bums, probably.
No,
not you bet Phil Mickelson to top 10. You think that's such a great price?
No. Let me talk about my favorite golfer.
Go ahead.
My favorite golfer for this week. That everybody, like, honestly, I don't say this often, and maybe I do, but right now I'm telling you I don't say this often. If you follow me this week at the PGA Championship, I think we're all coming out with some money. I think we all can buy your mom the gift you didn't get her for Mother's Day this past week. I think you can buy your girlfriend a nice dinner. I think you can buy a lot of things if you follow me, and it starts with this. FRL, winner outright, and top 10, Will Zalatoris. Hear me out. Will Zalatoris, 80-1 outright, plus 550 top 10, and 55-1 for FRL. Over the last 3 seasons, he's only behind Scotty Scheffler in strokes to gain at majors. There's that asterisk. I know there's been some up and downs. He does have a couple top 10s this year already. I like him a lot. Major Zalatoris, Major Z, as I like to call him. Back in the day, we used to be buddy-buddy. Major Z is honestly, I think, the biggest meal ticket I've had in a long time. I couldn't feel better about him coming into the PGA Championship.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with Willie Z. I mean, he's performed in a lot of major championships before, and he's definitely got the skills to compete at the highest level. We'll see if he can put it all together. I've got one guy that I'm kind of keying in on this week, and it's Joaquin Niemann, guy that you don't really get to see much anymore because he's on live, but just looking at a couple things, really two, putting on bent grass greens and the way that he drives the golf ball. I think those are 2 things that are going to play a major factor this week. So there's one guy I'm looking at. He's had a few wins on a live tour this past year, and I think he's shown that he can win some events. I know that he hasn't won a major yet, but I think there's going to be a breakthrough, and I think he'll be. I think he will not be the more popular young guy. I think Ludwig Aubert is going to be one of one of the biggest picks this week. So I like going with Neiman. Find him at 40, 45 to 1, really across the board right now. So that's the one guy that I'm keying in on for this week at Valhalla.
And I'm going to let Rube give his, but again, I have nothing against Neiman, right? Like I actually took him for the Masters, thought there was a really good opportunity there. But what did they even let Gooch in the tournament? A winner of like a many live like I don't think this live thing's translating over to the PGA.
Gooch is in the field actually.
They let him in, a little special exemption. It took a minute. That was not a false claim by me right there. He was not originally in.
It's true.
Thank you. I don't know. It isn't panning out. Maybe I was wrong. The Masters, you can make the claim there was 4 live guys in the top 10, whatever the fuck you want to tell me. I do have money on Brooks 17 to 1 in this tournament. The only live guy I think I'm taking. It just makes me nervous.
Yeah. Well, if you don't like Xander's live pick, I'm gonna raise you one. I love Bryson this week. I think this course sets up perfectly for him, and just there.
He's too busy practicing at Walmart on Walmart clubs. He's a YouTuber now.
He's played well on live. I know some people don't care about that. Whatever it is, the guy when he's on is one of the few guys that can hang with a peak Scheffler. Now he's definitely way more inconsistent than Scotty, so he could play bad and finish 30th. But I'm not betting him to top 5 or top 10. I'm betting him to win, and I think there's a legitimate chance if he has his game, he can win. This is one of the longest courses they play on the PGA Tour. It's the rough is penal, but if you're well ahead of everyone else, obviously he hits the ball as far as anyone. If he can get a hot putter, he's shown that he can compete on these big golf courses in the past. So if I'm going away from Scotty, which pains me to say it, but I actually am thinking about betting him at 4 to 1 and just leaving everything else alone this week. But if I decide not to do that, I do like Bryson.
That's pretty. I feel like some sail taken out of the winds. We got Rube submitting to a 4 to 1. It's pretty ridiculous.
I think it feels like a good number. I know it's weird to say, but
I feel like
if he didn't have a kid, I feel like he would be 2 to 1. He should be.
Maybe you're getting a bargain.
Well, wait. Here's my question. With somebody like that, because I know how gross our gambling gets Wednesday night, maybe even a little bit of Tuesday evening, and anything you can throw in before.
What about Thursday morning?
I was say even the sunrise, right before first tee off. Are you willing to think about it? Are you willing to sacrifice all your bets, and how about you just put it on Scotty? Say fuck it. I was gonna spend all this money anyways. Let me just put it on Scotty. Are we at that point of his run right now?
It might be. Look, it'll be a tough pill to swallow because if I do it and he comes out and plays bad on Thursday, my week is over. But I might have to do it. We'll see.
I'll give you guys some time to share some other picks, but I've got some more picks I want people to ride with. I already gave you Zalatoris, all 3 legs.
I've only got one pick. I already said him.
You're only going with Neiman?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll give the rest. I took Brooks 17 to 1, so we all have a live guy. Honestly, for the show and for fun, small wager, $5, all 3 of us. Whichever one of our live guys finishes first takes the grand pool, $10. A nice little takes 1 meal. I think that's I'm making that official. We're gonna do that. I also love
after that your guy's the one at 17 to 1 and ours are at 30 and 40.
Yeah, it's fine. It doesn't. It's golf. Anything can happen. I
might have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night, Roz.
And you know what? I felt this might happen. So take Brooks out because I have money on another live guy in the same range as you guys. I'm going Cam Smith. So Cam Smith will be my live take, 45 to 1. He will be my live guy against you two. No complaints given. I'm raising it to $10 a person. And what I'm going to do next is say who I really, really appreciate and a guy who has been really good over the last 18 months and is under talked about and is sitting at 45 to 1. But I'm also going to take Wyndham Clark. Might not be the big stick kind of guy here, but I do like Wyndham. He's been competing in every single major for the last 18 months. I like the guy a lot, especially at that number. And then a guy who's been sneaky. Dresses like absolute.
Can we go over the guys that you don't have? You keep rattling off the names.
Hold on. These are I've given you 4 guys. I finish at 5, right? I finish at 5 guys. I always take, which we have to do for Chad's pool anyway. Shout out Chad. If you want to be in a pool, just DM one of us. We'll get you into a major golf pool. My last guy dresses like the biggest piece of shit on the tour, but it doesn't matter. He's put away all of his drama, all of his issues. Jason Day, 70-1 is my final pick.
What drama did Jason Day have? Did I miss that?
He had like some brain stuff. He was like,
that's what we're calling drama.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the word for it. It's not vitiligo. Vertigo. He was dealing with
vertigo.
Had
like a tiger. I was thinking like a tiger drama or something. Like, did I miss something?
Australian women are very attractive. So if Jason Day, he's married. We're not saying anything. I'm just saying he comes from the land of very attractive. So anything can happen there. But no, my last guy, Jason Day, 71. That's 5 outright guys. I gave you my FRL and Will Zalatoris. My top 10 pluses are Jason Day plus 450, Clark plus 360, and I already gave you Zalatoris at 5.5-1. Great price for a top 10. In fact, better price than Scotty winning the entire tournament. That's everything I got for the PGA Championship. I think honestly felt like it was going to be respected, my takes today on the PGA Championship. Both of you seem a little bit snobbier than I anticipated.
We'll see.
Pick.
Next week we'll be able to.
Don't forget who runs the edits of this show. Shout out LJ again. But I'm going to show what we picked. I know they're all coming in. We're 48 hours away from a very explosive group text with picks from sun to moon. It's going to be all across the board.
Could be. It's a good week to hemorrhage some money. We do it a lot, so.
There's 4 weeks of summer, and I know the Masters aren't technically in the summer, but there's 4 weeks, and neither is the PGA Championship, I guess. But there's 4 weeks where
Xander saying he only has one pick is the biggest lie of all time.
Yeah, he's like trying to put this front on Rube, like he's not a gambler on this show. He's respectable.
I would not subject any listener of the show to put on all the bets that I put on throughout the week. So I'm going to give one sanctioned pick, and that's what I'm going to say you should ride with.
I know. I just think that people who could follow
you can't throw me under the bus. So you texted this. This is one picking on the show. This is my official pick.
All right, I won't. You're right.
I'm putting myself at risk. That's what I do.
Governmental Witz sanctioned pick. This one, only one that goes on the board. That's it. On any website, any platform, one pick. Joaquin Niemann. I hope he fucking misses the cut. All right. One final sports thought. We're going off here. This is the end of the episode. Just taste of football. We missed the taste of football. Maybe I let Xander
Ravens plus 3. Ravens plus 3. Okay. Not
against Marquise Brown and the revamped Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know. Give me the Chiefs -3 early bet. No, I was talking about how I was kidding about the Lions maybe going all in too soon and not going to have any, like they're 2 years away from a collapse in Detroit style. $220 million they just spent on Jared Goff today.
Yeah. For the 20th best quarterback in the NFL.
For the second highest paid guy behind Joe Burrow, who, by the way, you guys are a little bit out of the NFL news cycle, I feel like. Maybe you haven't heard. This wrist injury and wrist surgery he had is that of like a linebacker and a defensive back. AJ Hawk had the same surgery. They were talking about it on the Pat McAfee show. Said you don't get your full mobility back, and it's always painful. Very concerning to hear today, especially for a guy who I'm a huge fan of. Love Joe Burrow, one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. I'm a little worried about what we're going to get moving forward with the guy. And I know a lot of people are calling the injury bug his best friend from knee to wrist. Kind of concerning.
The guy, he's had an injury history. There's no other way around it. And say what you want about Jared Goff, but he's always on the field. He's always there, just like the Mets and the Giants. He's always there. The best availability. I screwed it up. The best ability is availability.
Hey, you had that teed up there, but
it's your favorite. It's your favorite quote. Honestly, hey, Dan Orlovsky, whatever your name is. All I know is all I heard all day on ESPN is that he has the best fourth quarter and closing time QBR, blah 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 blah. But he also has the most 4 interception games over the last 5 seasons. So take it and leave it. He might be great when you need him down the stretch, but I've also seen this guy throw the ball in the absolute wrong place when it mattered most. And just because you get beat by 30 doesn't mean you lost in any different style, whether it be a close game or a blowout game. And sometimes he leaves his team out to dry to begin. 220 seemed like a lot, especially when you're going to need to keep building this team in a young division that is the NFC North. Seemed like a lot of money. Seemed like a lot to make Jared Goff the second highest paid quarterback annually in the NFL.
Could be.
Like the guy. Cali guy.
It's always next man up, though, in the NFL. It's a little bit. It can be a little bit.
Well, who's the guy? Is it Malik Hooker? Who's the guy they have? No, that's a corner. Jesus, that's a safety. Who's the backup quarterback they drafted from Tennessee, I thought?
Hendon Hooker?
Hendon Hooker?
Oh, Hendon Hooker. I was close. I just forgot the, you know me, names. First, last, all of it. Hendon Hooker, they thought he might even take over Jared Goff's job a year and a half ago. Just saying. Now you pay him $220 million.
We'll see.
Any final thoughts, Witz, before we go off the show? I think we're mildly cordial. There are some things I disagree about that you say, but that's just the nature of the beast.
Yep, I'm good. I'm ready for the major.
Get him to Thursday, bright and early. Rube, anything to sign off here? Are you putting all your money on Scotty?
I might be. We'll see. I'm excited though. Majors they're always good. So I feel like they're especially good now with getting all the live guys back. Like it just has like an even bigger pedestal that the majors are on now. And you get to see Tiger limp around for a couple rounds, and then maybe with Jar, maybe not, but still good to see him out there.
You just want to see that red on Sunday. Are we going to have good Sundays? We expecting happy Sundays or angry Sundays? How are we dealing with one another come Sunday?
It's all sunshine and roses on Monday, but
hey, 11:45.
Last couple Sundays have been 11:45. Best time of the week.
It's 11:45 and for you East Coasters, it's 12:45, and for me, it's 9:45. So I will catch you next week, everybody. This has been The Opening Edge. Please go make money from our picks, and then let us know about it. Peace!
Yeah.